German volume training. Probably shouldn't do that when talking about Germans. No, probably shouldn't. German volume training is a very popular training program amongst gym enthusiasts across the globe. So German volume training is when an individual will perform 10 reps of 10 sets of a given exercise, usually compound movements such as a squat, bench and a deadlift. It's a significant amount of volume to be lifting in one session, so let me elaborate on what volume is. Volume is what drives muscle growth and what makes an individual bigger. Volume is measured by the weight that you lift times the number of reps times the number of sets. So if you're lifting 100 kilograms for 10 reps over 10 sets, you've lifted 10,000 kilograms, which equates to 10 baby elephants. Yeah, 10 tons essentially. But is more volume better? Now, as you progress through your training phase, you will have to increase the volume with time if you want to get bigger and stronger. Period. Period. But more volume isn't always better, and today we're going to be looking at whether or not you can yield the same, if not better results by doing 5 by 10, so 5 sets of 10 reps compared with 10 reps of 10 sets, essentially saving you time and effort in the gym. A recent study conducted on 19 trained males, they had 1 year of lifting experience, where they were split up into 2 groups, where 10 were put on the 10 by 10 program and 9 were put on the 5 by 10 program. And this was run over 6 weeks. Now for the 6 weeks they measured these individuals' muscle thickness, and what's really weird is that there was no significant difference between the 10 by 10 and the 5 by 10 when it came to muscle thickness, which is weird because you'd have thought that the guys who were performing the 10 by 10 would have yielded better results because essentially they were lifting more volume. In relation to strength gains, the 5 by 10 group actually yielded better strength gains than the 10 by 10 group. And in terms of lean body mass, there was a significant difference in favour of the 5 by 10 group compared to the 10 by 10 group. So what can you take away from this, and how can you apply this to your training in terms of going forward? So when comparing both the 5 by 10 and the 10 by 10, the volume that they were actually lifting, or the volume that you would lift through using both methods, are pretty high in volume. And if you are between maybe your first, second, maybe even third year of training, you don't need to be lifting this much volume in order to make progress. And this is exactly why more isn't better. So if you are between that sort of 1 to 3 year bracket, and you're not ready for this increase in volume, then it may decrease your progression in the short term. What I mean by this is that too much training volume in your early years of training or can overwhelm your body to recover efficiently. Volume should be progressed methodically over time. You know, think of it like when you first went swimming, the instructor didn't just grab you and go, hey, go on Dave, go in there and try and swim. No, you were given a float first, you were held onto the bar, you started kicking your legs, and then you progressed to the shallow end, then you moved up all the way up to the deep end, and it's essentially what adding more volume is to your training. Just go in like that to a kid and throw him in the deep end, there's a high probability he will die, as will you if you lift too much training load or training volume even at the start of your training career. But this isn't to say that German volume training doesn't have a place. It most certainly does, because bigger muscles are inevitably stronger muscles. So there will become a time when your training volume will have to be increased. So more volume over time does have a place, but not early on in your lifting career. You know, your body must become accustomed to the volume, and with time it will. And inevitably with 10 by 10 you are going to be sore after the sessions, especially if it's your first few times doing it, and this is going to impair with your ability to recover. And if you're not accustomed to that volume yet, because you haven't reached that training status of being able to recover efficiently between higher volumes, then lower volumes will be superior for you. And look, with 10 by 10, so German volume training, it's essentially 100 reps in a session. There's nothing stopping you from performing 4 sets of 15 reps, followed by 3 sets of 8 reps, and then 4 sets of 4 reps split over 3 days, because you're still essentially lifting 100 reps. It's just that you're splitting it over 3 days, which essentially means you're doing less volume in one day. You're practicing the movement 3 times a week rather than once. You're better recovered because you're not lifting as much volume, which means that you can maintain the intensity throughout the week. And it means that you're switching the intensity, so the weight on the bar, up over 3 days. So you've got the light load on the 4 sets of 15, you've got the moderate load for the 3 sets of 8, and then you've got the heavy load on the 4 sets of 4. So it means that you're training light, moderate and heavy loads over the course of 3 days over a week. And that is my 2 Minute Tuesday for today. Give it a like if you like it, subscribe if you like it, and yeah, speak to you soon.